Hi, welcome back to Sue Maree P. Today I'm doing a challenge for myself. I've got, just dropped them, 4 pears, and I'd like to do a cake. So I'm going to do a pear cake with oat milk and a touch of spicy ginger. So if you'd like to see my pear cake, come with me and let's see. So the first step for our pear cake today, we're going to beat or whip up the sugar and the butter. So I'm using light brown sugar, but you can use ordinary brown sugar or you can swap it out for caster sugar. So I've got 1 cup or 200 grams of the brown sugar. And we're just using half a packet or 125 grams of room temperature unsalted butter. So whipping that up until it's light and fluffy. And I've preheated my oven to 160 degrees because I have a fan forced oven, but if you don't have a fan forced oven, make it 180 degrees. Then today I'm going to do it in a loaf tin. I've done it in my favorite scrunched moist paper in the base, but you don't have to do it that way. You can just grease the pan traditionally with butter. So that's all ready to go. And while that's whipping up, I'm just going to make it go a bit faster. In a large bowl, I'm going to add my flour. So I've got just a little bit over 2 cups. It's 300 grams of spelt flour, because as many of you know, I love baking with spelt flour. And then we're going to add our baking powder. So we've got 2 level teaspoons of baking powder. We're going to add our spices as well. So I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. This is optional if you don't like ginger, just leave it out. And a teaspoon of cinnamon. So we're going to use our whisk like this and just whisk that to incorporate the baking powder and your spices. We'll just set that aside. So our butter and sugar is creamed. And then we're going to add our eggs, just 1 at a time so they're incorporated. I'll add another egg. If you're out there in lockdown mode and you're bored, bake a cake. I've heard baking is the new yoga. Well, that's what I'm telling everyone. Okay, I'm just scraping down the side of my bowl. So once they've all mixed together, then we're going to add, I'm going to do the flour. We're going to add a little bit of that at a time. And I'm going to alternate that with milk. So I'm using oat milk today because that's what I prefer to have. And I've got 125 mils to start with. And then I'm just going to gauge it. And if I need more, I'm going to add more. So let's just add that together. And then we'll just keep alternating. A little bit more milk. Just before we add all of our flour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop up my pears into small pieces. And I'm going to toss them in the rest of the flour. This helps or stops the pears actually sinking to the bottom of your cake. The other thing I've got here, which I'm going to throw in a teaspoon of, is I've chopped up some fresh ginger. Just finely chopped that. So I'm just going to do 1 teaspoon just for a little bit of extra zing. If you don't have fresh ginger on hand, just leave it out. And I'm going to save 1 of my pears for the top. Okay, we're going to toss pears in the flour. I'm just going to slowly combine those. A little bit more flour and pears. Milk, more, we'll just do the rest of it. We just want to check that the sides aren't sticking. Just going to add a little bit more milk. So we've added 125 mils and I'm going to add 2 more tablespoons. So we're going to add the mix to the tin. Okay, last but not least, we're going to add the pear on the top. So we've got the camera zoomed in. So I'm just placing these pear slices on top. And then I've got a little bit of brown sugar that I've left over. And I've got some extra crystallized ginger. Again, if you didn't want to add ginger, you can just leave that out. I might run out of pear. Oh no. Okay, now we've got our teaspoon. We've got 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. So we're just going to sprinkle that on top. Again, this is just an added extra crunchy naughtiness. If you're trying to not have too much sugar, don't put this on. You shouldn't be having it, but just do it because it tastes good. And I've got the crystallized ginger. So I've just, I think it was like 50 grams, had a few chunks. So we're just going to place it on top as well. And then we'll see how that tastes. So that's my pear cake about to go in the oven. So we'll bake it for 50 minutes and we might check it at about 45 minutes with a skewer just to see if it's cooked or not. So our cake's out of the oven. I let it sit for 30 minutes before I removed it. I'm going to leave the end piece and just get one of the ones next to it. Maybe I'll just have half. Okay, I want to try the crunchy top because that was a new idea that I did today. The crystallized ginger is really zingy. Yum. You've got subtle spices. It's moist. You've got the little pockets of fruit and the crunchy top. This is a winner. If you're looking for a pear cake that's got lots of zing, you have to try and make this one. It's so good. So if you've liked my video today, hit the thumbs up and pop a comment in the notes below. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And I'll see you next time. Bye.